Hey everyone. I know we've got a few people who are in line right now checking in with the ballot clerks, but why don't we go ahead and get started? There's a few housekeeping items that we'll take care of at the beginning of the meeting before we get into the different articles. First of all, I just want to thank all of you for coming out on a Wednesday night to learn a little bit more about the RC14 budget. This is part 2 of a 3-part approval process. Budget for us started back in October. So we've been endeavoring away, looking at numbers, looking at planning for next year, and then also working like everybody else through a COVID environment. And trying to make sure that our budget is going to well prepare us for this upcoming year. So tonight is an opportunity for us to hear from the public and for all of you to learn a little bit more about the budget, and then for us to go through our approval process in order to be able to then advance a dollar amount to the voters for the June 14th budget. I am masking tonight. No secret that I was out all last week with COVID, much like many of our friends and peers right now. So if I standoffish this tonight, it's nothing to do with you. I'm still in my return to work period, and I'm going to try to give everybody as much space as possible as we work through tonight. So if you would all join me now in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to start our meeting tonight with something a little bit different that was not on the agenda. This afternoon, I lost a dear friend, and all of you lost a dear, dear contributor and a long-term employee of RSU 14. Deb Mcafee passed away suddenly this afternoon. Many of you may have known Deb from her years as principal and assistant principal here at Wyndham High School. Part of Deb's legacy is the room that you're sitting in right now. This auditorium, when she was involved with the high school construction project, was one of her passions to make sure that this place was as well equipped as possible and that met our overall needs. And so we lost Deb too soon this afternoon. Eric, actually, where you're sitting, that is Deb's spot there in McAfee Row, Row M, and she will be sorely missed. And any of you who knew Deb, she was at every single possible athletic event, school event, play, community event, neighbors helping neighbors. From Kings Lane, she really impacted this entire community. So I'd just like us to start tonight with a moment of silence for Deb. Thank you. This time, I know there's a microphone that's on the table. If I could just have the board of directors introduce themselves. Jess, why don't we start with you at that end?
Jessica Bridges. Char Jewell.
Pete Hensler.
Mike McClellan.
Kate Levier.
Kate Briggs. Jenny Butler.
Marge Garoni.
Scott McLean.
Al Potter, and I'm the student representative.
Great. Our first article for tonight, Article 1A, to elect a moderator to preside at the meeting. Are there any nominations from the floor?
I nominate Bill Stockmeyer.
I'll second.
Any other nominations from the floor? If not, I will go ahead and close out nominations. All those in favor of Bill Stockmeyer, please raise your hand. Opposed? Okay, Bill, if you'd come up and take the oath. I'm going to grab my glasses for this stuff. Do you, Bill Stockmeyer, swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Maine, so long as you shall continue to be a citizen thereof, and that you will faithfully discharge to the best of your abilities the duties incumbent on you as moderator of the Regional School Unit Number 14 budget meeting
on May 18th, 2022, according to the Constitution and laws of the state of Maine. Okay. I'm going to have you sign your oath. Great. Thank you. All yours.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. So if you're a voter, you should have registered outside. You should have a pink voting card to raise when we vote. You should have one yes, no ballot for when we get to the additional local funds article. And you should have a copy of the budget articles at the least so you can follow what's going on. I will just mention now that in the posted warrant, but not in the copy you have, there was a typo, which is that there were 2 Article 17s in the posted warrant. So if you happen to notice that, we're aware of it, but you won't see it in the one you got tonight because it was fixed. So you'll notice your Article 18, Adult Education, in the posted warrant was a second Article 17, and the Article 18 in the posted warrant is actually Article 19, authorizing a transfer with respect to the Capital Reserve Fund. So I'll just mention that now, in case you were wondering if you noticed that error. With any luck, that was the only error. So if you are a non-voter, could you just raise your hand just so I know if we? Okay. So please, when we vote, obviously you're not going to vote, and if people are worried about that, if you're a non-voter, you don't have a card, so you can't vote. So we don't need to worry about that. Second, I've sworn in the ballot clerks ahead of time so that they can continue to check in the voters and we don't need to spend time here. The rules that govern our meeting will be the rules of the Maine Moderator's Manual with a couple of modifications. These are the modifications I'm proposing. First, any school administrative officials who are not residents will be allowed to speak as called upon to answer questions within the scope of their responsibilities or to explain any budget matters. And second modification, this is a budget, so we will entertain amendments one at a time and dispose of them, and only then allow a second amendment, if any, on the same article. So we won't amend the amendments because we would get hopelessly confused. This does not preclude you from making an amendment. If an amendment is adopted, we're on the article as amended, and if you have another amendment, you can then make it at that time. So don't feel that you're precluded from making a second amendment. And third, by law, we will have a written ballot on Article 14. I would ask if you'd like to speak to the meeting or ask a question, please come to the microphones. I'm sure everybody wants to hear you, and it will be quite impossible unless you're at a microphone. When I recognize you, state your name and the town you're from first, and then address the meeting. And if there are any questions, those should go through me. We're not cross-examining witnesses at this meeting, so I'll handle the questions and we'll decide who should best answer them. If we're debating and you feel debate has gone on long enough, you may, the meeting essentially governs how long this meeting will take. If you wish to call for a vote, you make a motion by saying, I move the previous question. By moving the previous question, you're asking to proceed to cut off debate. That motion requires a 2/3 vote to pass, so obviously it's going to be fair. If the large consensus the meeting is ready to vote, you may want to speak more, but we need to also be fair to everybody. If it's closer than 2/3, then we're going to continue to talk because maybe you can persuade some minds. Okay, so that's the motion to move the previous question. I'm now going to recognize Pete Hensler, who's going to provide a little bit of a budget overview for us. Pete?
All right, good evening, and once again, thank everyone for coming out to share your views or your questions on the budget. Certainly appreciated. Again, my name's Pete Hensler, and as chair of the Finance Committee, it's customary for me to present just a high-level overview of the budget. So you can go on. So we've been working on the budget as a board since pretty much February. We're on the 9th version, and there's been other folks working on it, as Chris said, since October. So thanks to them and everyone for all the hard work that's gone into it. Coming in, we always have what we call the open the door budget. That's basically showing if you're leaving positions the same, you're leaving programming the same, what are you looking at for an increase with built-in salary increases, health insurance increases. Those are some of the big challenges that we face each year. Raises are expected and deserved. So this year when we took a look at things, just to open the door with the contracts that have been negotiated, with health insurance costs, we're looking at a 4.54% increase. Some of the other challenges that we had in this area, we're fortunate in many ways, but property values for Raymond and Wyndham are increasing at a higher rate than many other areas of the state. And with that, a big part of the funding formula that the state uses is property valuations. So with that being the case, we saw a reduction in subsidy from the state compared to last year. Other things that we face that everybody's facing is increased cost, inflationary pressures, especially when it comes to utilities, electricity, and heating fuels. While we do our best to lock in prices, those prices aren't locked in forever. And so when you have to lock in again, you're locking in at a higher cost. And then motor fuel increases. We all know what gas prices are. And we've got a big fleet of buses. We put a lot of miles on each year, so that's another increased cost that we have to take into account. Some of the notable changes that occurred in the budget. We've got a math teacher at the Wyndham High School, the addition of one, and this is to allow additional classes. There's a need, particularly for algebra. So the addition of a math teacher was recommended and was also recommended by the board. Grade 5 teacher at the Jordan Small Middle School, and that's just to accommodate class sizes to keep the student-to-teacher ratios in check. The addition of a school counselor at the Katahdin School, and while it is an addition, you'll also see on the other side that there's a reduction. So basically just replacing the Edtech with a school counselor, which is much needed. Doing a computer refresh at the Wyndham High School. Basically, we're on a schedule to keep our computers up to date, and also in this particular instance is to take advantage of some incentives by MLTI to keep our costs down. Pre-K expansion. Pre-K has been a huge success so far in the district, and so we're able to expand that, not to the level that we want to, but with that there is an increased cost. But with pre-K, any increase in cost is also met with an offsetting increase in revenues from the state. So that's kind of a net zero effect on the budget. There's the addition of an elementary tech integrator at the elementary level. So we've had one at the higher grade levels, and it's proved to be very, very valuable to our teachers and our staff. And so expanding that to our elementary to help our teachers there is a big priority. Excuse me. And then the Edtech Hours. In the past, Edtechs in the district were on a 35-hour schedule. Some time ago, those were reduced due to budgetary reasons. And we'd like to put that back to 35. Not only are those hours needed to support everyone in the district, but also just for competitive reasons with our surrounding school districts. And then on the reduction side, I mentioned the Edtech from the Katahdin program, but there's a reduction of 11 special ed Edtechs that was being proposed. And just want to say that these are not people losing jobs. These are positions that were approved in the current budget that we were unable to fill. And we've been able to provide the services, and so rather than just leaving those as unfilled positions, that's going to be a reduction. All right, you can move on. So what does that all mean? Said version 9 of the budget, we've been through a lot of iterations of it. We're looking at a 4.34% increase. So if you remember on the first slide, the open the door was 4.54 through the work that we've done. That's coming in at 4.34. And again, that includes the increase to the pre-K program, which again is offset by additional revenue. So if you back that out, it's closer to maybe a 4.1% increase. And this next slide, we show this every year. This is just showing where our revenues come from. Proportionately, you can see that 32% comes from the state subsidy, and the other big portion is the local contribution from the tax base. The numbers in blue are just a comparison to what the percentages were last year. So you can see there's not a lot of change. And the same thing on the budget side of things. You can see that the largest portions of this are regular instruction, special education instruction. So the majority of the expenditures go towards education, as they should, instruction. The other big portion is facilities maintenance. We have 3 different campuses at least. We have buildings in other locations. It takes a lot to maintain and upkeep. To Bill and his crew do a great job of doing that, and so that's another portion. So you can see, and there'll be opportunities for questions later on. And then just, again, a history of what our state subsidy has been. You can see early on, we saw a decreasing subsidy. The last 3 years, we were fortunate to see an increase in that. Last year was particularly beneficial. When the governor did the supplemental budget, there was some extra money, 1.3 million, that was added in. So that's why we got a big boost last year. And so when you look at this year, we are seeing a decrease compared to that. But when you compare it to fiscal year 20 and fiscal year 21, the subsidy that we're receiving is higher than in those years. And this is our budget history. We're always trying to balance what's best, to provide the best education possible while being responsible to the taxpayers. And so this is just basically a history of that. We are higher than last year, but last year we did have the benefit of the additional subsidy. So we're pretty much in line. If you average out those prior 6 years, we're pretty much in line with what the average would be. So that's what I have, and now we'll proceed.
Thank you, Pete. We're going to take up each of the business articles in turn. I'll read the article. I'll ask for a motion in a second. We'll get the article on the floor for discussion, possible amendment. Then we'll vote on the article. We're going to vote by having you raise your color-coded cards, except for the additional local funds article, and I'll explain the procedure for the written ballot when we get to that article. So, and then finally, let me just explain for those that aren't familiar with school budgets. If you look at the articles in front of you, the first 11 articles are the cost centers. Each is a different category of expenditure. And just like your own budget, you have expenditures, you have revenues, and then you have a total. And hopefully the expenditures and the revenues equal each other and the total. The total is in Article, in this case, Article 15. So the first 11 are the expenditures. On the revenue side, we only, by statute, vote on the articles that involve local tax dollar revenues, okay? So there are miscellaneous revenues like carry forwards and tuition. Those aren't voted on, they're just folded into Article 14. If you're wondering why the revenues don't seem to quite equal the expenditures, they actually do. So the revenues involving tax dollars are Articles 12, 13, and 14. Article 15 is a summary of the total, and then we have some miscellaneous articles. Okay, so that's just a quick, so that you don't get lost. Okay, so I'll start with Article 1. Article 1, to see what sum the regional school unit would be authorized to expend. For regular instruction, School Board recommends $21,621,414.97. Do I have a motion?
I move the article as written.
And a second?
Second.
Article 1 is on the floor. Any discussion? Regular instruction. Please come to the mic if you have something to say. Yes, sir. And again, if you could just start with your name and the town that you're from.
My name is Ken Anderson, and I live in Wyndham. Could we go back to that first graph, please? Is that possible? Just trying to get an indication regarding the local taxpayer money and the state subsidy money. Shouldn't the local taxpayer section of the graph be much larger? Like the complete circle?
Chris, would you like to handle that?
Yeah, sure. There's a couple components here to local tax. First of all, the upper right-hand kind of slate blue required EPS, essential programs and services. In the state of Maine, in order for a district to receive funding, it must expend a minimum amount of money, and so that the required EPS is the slate blue. The local additional is the amount that's being spent over EPS, so that's another component of the local. In addition, you also have some local debt service. That's debt service already approved by the voters, so what's remaining for debt on Wyndham High School, some revolving renovation bond monies. And so all of those things then combine with as local requirements, and then in addition, the state subsidy starts to fill out your pie. The slate blue you must spend in order to be able to get the green.
I understand. Thank you. My concern is, don't all of the state subsidies come directly from the taxpayers' pockets? Like the state couldn't run without us, right?
That's correct. So state subsidy, yes, there are funds that go to
But
some.
don't we, the taxpayers, subsidize the state from our pockets? Shouldn't the graph include the taxpayer as the whole graph? I'm just wondering. Do you agree that?
Yes, I mean
Okay.
Could you use your
I
mic,
was
Chris?
just wondering what your answer was.
If you could use your mic when you respond.
yes, everything comes from the taxpayers.
Thank you.
So part of that green also includes taxes that people in other communities have contributed that are then sent over to Wyndham and Raymond to help with their education of their students.
Excellent. Other communities in the state of Maine, right?
Say that again?
Other communities in the state of Maine?
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? We're on Article 1, regular instruction. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to move to a vote, and your cards are pink, is that correct? All right, so I'll say all in favor, raise your pink cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your pink cards. Thank you. Article 1 carries. Article 2, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for special education. School Board recommends $9,761,028.79. Do I have a motion?
I move the article as written.
Is there a second? It's on the floor. Any discussion or debate? Yes, sir. Oh, ma'am, sorry. No. Sir, you can,
Hi, it's
we'll
Jody
have you
Carroll.
go next if you're speaking. Yes, ma'am.
A few questions on the 11 special ed techs that were eliminated. Just have a couple of questions about, and I apologize if I missed this when you were working to lead up to it. Do we have specific sites that the ed techs were removed from for the count of 11?
Go ahead, Chris.
There were 20 unfilled ed tech positions this year in the budget
Okay.
that were carried forward. And looking forward to next year, the special education, all teachers, site coordinators have met, started looking at mapping out, and the ones that you see there represented are ones that they've determined that for next year they're not going to need. In addition, special ed percentage in the district has actually dropped a little bit as far as numbers go.
Okay. And second question is, what part did eliminating those positions play in meeting the overall goal as far as meeting the budgetary percentage that you as a team are trying to meet?
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, so what it meant for a goal is that those funds that were previously being used for that now can be adjusted and used for other things within the district without impacting taxes.
Okay, and then there'd be a plan, it sounds like from your answer previously, to allow those positions to be offered because they weren't filled. Just my concern is because they weren't filled that they were eliminated, and that those resources there wouldn't be a plan to bring those back in next year for a whole year.
Several of those positions have been open for a couple of years.
Okay,
So the confidence level to be able to eliminate them now at this time. With that being said, you'd never know next year if we have an additional move-in. We may be coming back here and saying we need to add 11 special education ed techs to the budget.
sure, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Len West from Wyndham. Just had a question on the Article 2 versus Article 1. You got $21,621,000 for regular instruction, and then you've got $9,761,000 for special education. Not quite half, but I mean, looking at the math, it would say like 1 out of 3 students need special education. Is that right?
Go ahead, Chris.
That's incorrect. Our special education percentage is right around 18%. The cost to educate a student who receives special education services, or the cost of those services, is more than maybe what it would cost for a student that does not have those services. And so that's the increase that you're going to see there. This is based on actual student need and needs that we have in the district.
Well, how many students do you have in special education?
I'm going to go off the top of my head, so if I'm incorrect, don't hold me to it. I think
That's
it's
fine.
561.
Versus how many roughly in the regular curriculum?
There's roughly 3,200, I think it's 32 students in the district, so quick
So-
math is about 2,700 and 500.
So 1/6 of the students cost almost half as much as the rest?
That is correct.
That doesn't make sense. I mean, to me, there's something wrong there.
We have
I mean,
a
I don't know what to say. I mean, really, it's just looking at the numbers. When you tell me 1/6 of your student population requires as much, or half as much as the other 30, the other percentage of the regular instruction.
We have a legal obligation to meet the individual programming needs of every student who receives special education. When we look at that, we look at what is it within the program that we need to provide, and then we work through a process of whether it be a program or placement or person or speech services or occupational health services. all of those components. So yes, it is expensive. It's just the reality of where we are, and this is not unique to RSU 14.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Good evening.
Could you
I'm
start with your
Alicia.
name? Yep, go ahead.
Alicia Piper, and I live here in Wyndham. I was just kind of curious, looking at the special ed budget. I work in special ed, just in a different district. Just curious, how much are you contracting outside of the district for services, or are you trying to keep it more in-house, hiring for specific services and needs?
I can only give you probably information as far as, I think right now we have 13 or 14 students that would be in an out-of-district placement, which means that their needs are at a level which we cannot provide those services within the district. We do some contracting services for our psychology services, but for our OT, PT, recently now with desk services, those are services we're able to provide in-house, in-district, which is much more efficient for our students and actually cost-wise can be much more efficient for the district.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, please raise your cards. Thank you. Article 2 carries. Article 3, to see what sum the regional school be authorized to expend for career and technical education. School board recommends $0. Before I take a motion, I'll just mention this is a placeholder. A few years ago, the state changed the subsidy method for career and technical education, so it goes to the units providing that, but in case, for now, it's just here as a placeholder at $0. So I'll take a motion.
I
on the
move
article.
the article as written.
Second.
This is on the floor. I'm just going to move to a vote because it's $0 unless there's an objection. Yes, sir.
My name is Ken Anderson. I live in Wyndham. Why is it $0?
As I said, it's $0 because the state used to be subsidized based upon your students. It's now, the subsidy goes directly to a different school unit that provides the career and technical education, but we've left it here instead of eliminating it in case the state changes the subsidy method. So the money is going directly to a different school unit that provides the career and technical education.
Are there plans to reintroduce this?
That's a question for the state legislature.
Is this come from the Department of Education directly?
It comes from the legislature directly.
Okay. So I'm still unclear as to why it's 0. I need further explanation.
May I just take a... we can have as many students as we want to have go to Westbrook Vocational School. We have a limited number of slots for Portland Regional Vocational, but most students who want to go to those programs can go. In the past, the dollars for those students would come to RSU 14. We would write a check to Westbrook Vocational, write a check to Portland Vocational. About 3 years ago, the state said we want to eliminate the middle person, and instead they're now sending the money directly to Portland or directly to Westbrook on behalf of kids in RSU 14 who are accessing those programs.
Still confused. Could anybody else take a shot at explaining to me in simple terms why it's 0 cost?
So I'll take a stab at it. So the money for the students, the RSU 14 students that are going to technical schools, the money used to flow through our budget. So if we had 10 students going there, there's a certain cost for that, and it would be in our budget. But as I said, the state legislature took that out, so instead of that money coming to us and then us forwarding it on to Westbrook or Portland that has those schools, they just send the money directly to them now, so it doesn't need to flow through our budget.
Did the state take it out, Pete, because there's lack of interest in technical schools? Is that the reason?
No, the interest hasn't changed and the money hasn't changed, just the mechanism for getting it to those schools.
Has the interest in the technical trades actually gone up?
I can't speak to that.
Yes, our numbers are up at both centers right now.
It is?
Yes.
That's good news. Thank you.
Let's go ahead and vote on Article 3. All in favor, raise your pink cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your pink cards. Thank you. Article 3 carries. Article 4, to see what sum the regional school unit would be authorized to expend for other instruction. School Board recommends $1,054,203.91. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
I'll second.
Article 4 is on the floor. Other instruction. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, raise your pink cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your pink cards. Thank you. Article 4 carries. Article 5, to see what sum the regional school unit be authorized to expend for student and staff support. School Board recommends $5,024,985.65. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Article 5 is on the floor. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 5 carries. Article 6, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for system administration. School Board recommends $1,551,686.89. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Article 6 is on the floor, system administration. Any discussion? So while we're doing this, just we have people in favor and people are opposed, and sometimes when people are opposed, they're concerned about process, and I would just encourage that if someone is not a regular voter, that they not be holding a pink card in their hand. So if whoever's responsible for that person and they could take care of that quietly, I would appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Ken Clark, and I guess this is more of an overview on the budget, but I wanted to get going before it all got past us. I guess what everyone's asking here, the school, which completely respect a lot of the teachers and so forth, is for the taxpayers to keep supporting the school, teachers, all that kind of stuff. And I guess I get frustrated when there's signs in the school that literally say to my 10-year-old daughter to read, and this is where you guys aren't supporting or working with us, if your gender pronoun or name has changed, you may request an update to your school records. So my 10-year-old can go to someone in the school without me knowing and change her pronoun. She could also change her gender. The name gender change request form is available by visiting this link. Your school counsel is available if you have questions about what you want.
Excuse me. I'm going to allow you to speak for a couple minutes, and I'm going to give you some latitude because we're on system administration, but I just want to let you know that within a brief amount of time, the topic is really off the subject of the article. So after a couple minutes, I'm going to ask you to stop speaking. But go ahead for now and say what you have to say.
Okay, I'll have to cut to the... I wish we had a workshop, which we requested from the school board all year. We never got that. So time is a little frustrating to get with you folks. I just don't feel the school is working with the parents at all. And if I'm going to run out of time here, everyone should know that $10,193,923,923.70 has gone to RSU from COVID money. They spent $10 million on that, about $7 million was spent on projects such as areas of student support, staff support, operation and plant maintenance, special education, food services, transportation, and some other projects. $8 million. If someone had $250,000 next to that, I might say, okay, but that's 32 times $250,000 for money that is spent somewhere, and it's our tax dollars. So there's $2.8 million of COVID money left over. Now, I'm seeing all kinds of great charts and smart people working budgets and dancing numbers around. Instead of asking the residents for any more money, because we're facing every crisis that you guys mentioned earlier, high gas prices. Independent contractors do not get their health insurance paid for. We pay out of pocket. And I understand there's one part of this budget where teachers get health insurance paid from after they retire to the time they get Medicare. I guess that's great, but we as taxpayers don't get that. And we're supporting you. And there's $10 million of money you were just given, and $2.8 million left over. So I really need some explanations. I'm not in favor of any of this budget. I love teachers. A lot of them do a fantastic job, but there's a lot of things going on with government money and school boards and indoctrination in schools, just like I read. My 10-year-old can go on a website in the school and talk about someone about changing her gender. Who's going to do that behind my back, and I'm paying for them?
Okay, so thank you, sir.
I'm Barbara Murray from
Someone
Wyndham.
move the article, excuse me?
Excellent, because that's what I was going to do as
So there's a
well.
motion to cut off debate. Is there a second? Okay, all in favor of proceeding to a vote and cutting off debate, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed? Okay, the article carries. So now that cuts off debate. We move to a vote on Article 6, System Administration. The amount on the floor is $1,551,686.89. All in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, please raise your cards. Thank you. Article 6 carries. Article 7, to see what's on the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for school administration. School Board recommends $3,063,074.29. Is there a motion on Article 7?
I move the article as written.
I'll second.
Okay, Article 7 is on the floor. This is school administration. Any discussion or questions?
Barbara Murray from Wyndham. Point of order, Mr. Moderator. Could you please speak to whether people need to stay on task and make comments related to the articles? I find it curious that people are voicing, which they can voice their opinion.
So the point of order, the
Okay.
point of order is when an article's on the floor, that's the topic of discussion.
Thank
okay? When we were on the last article, we were on school administration, which has to do with school governance. And as I indicated, I allowed some latitude to the person that wished to speak. Okay, but now we're on school administration, which is the administration of the schools, the principals and related costs to that. So that's the topic for discussion. Sir, you have the floor.
My name is Ken Anderson, and I live in Hope.
I'm sorry, you live in where?
Hope?
I'm sorry, you're not allowed to address the meeting if you're not a resident.
I live in Hope with Jesus Christ.
Thank you. Are you a resident of Wyndham or?
I am a
Raymond?
resident of Wyndham, Maine.
Okay,
I
great.
live in Hope.
Go ahead.
I appreciate you.
We all have hope.
Amen. Are you a brother in Christ?
Well, I'll talk to you after the meeting if you like, but why don't you address the article, sir?
That's some good news if you are. I'd like to talk to the topic about
We'll let him talk. He has the floor, please. Then we'll
appreciate you,
recognize the
too.
motion. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, the topic is school administration, which is a big point of contention in and amongst the community. And since we all seem to like to go after pocketbooks, which is a monetary thing, this has great monetary interest of mine, because the money that's being spent on the programs that are being funded in the school systems in this country are destructive. So I'd like to speak a little further to that. Could I have the floor, please?
Not to make speeches, so you have like 30 seconds
Are
or a
you
minute.
trying to marginalize what I'm saying?
I'm trying
Are you trying to silence me?
I'm trying to
Because
have
my
the-
policy states, as an American citizen of this state, I'm allowed
Right.
to speak.
You're allowed to speak, but also have to be fair to the meeting as a whole. So you're not the only one that I have to be fair to. And if there's a consensus that the meeting should move on, then we're going to move on. Okay, so finish up if you would.
I appreciate that. In the great providence by God, who is seen to our time together this evening.
Sir, I'm going to rule you out of order. So would you please take your seat? And I
Didn't
believe
we
there
all
was
swear an
someone who
oath? to
Sir?
this?
Sir, you're out of order.
Out of order?
You're out of
I
order.
can't have a moment to speak?
No, you can't.
Can you give me the policy and cite that, please, so I can see it?
It's my decision as moderator of the meeting that you need to be silent now.
Are you going to have me removed?
If I have to, I will. I hope I don't
Well, I'm
have
going
do
to
that.
continue to speak, because it's
No,
my
sir.
right.
Sir, you can't continue to speak.
Given the current landscape of fiscal irresponsibility and the climate of wasteful spending, I am here pleading with you to stop the onslaught of pressure that already is bearing and weighing heavily on the families of this town. We all know and have heard before that money does not fix everything. We as a community have needs. Yes, we do. But do those needs constitute another tax increase that only seeks to cripple and cause more upheaval?
Sir, I'm going to ask you again to stop speaking. You're off topic. Thank you. Is there a motion now, or does someone else wish to speak? Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I didn't see you. I recognized him. So, sir, you're next. And then I'll recognize you, ma'am. Sir, if you'd like to speak, please come to a mic. You can come to this mic if he isn't moving. Well, just stay, you know.
How long are we going to put up with this? Going to silence us? Huh?
Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Stephen Napolitano. I live in Wyndham.
Thank you.
This is on Article 7. I'm just asking for clarification, assuming that there are salaries that are involved for the school administration in this budget increase.
Chris?
This would include the principal's salary, and I can't remember this year if they're negotiated as a 1.5% or a 2% increase. But this also includes all the other costs associated with administering schools. So all the different pieces of making sure that we have everything that we need to run.
Okay, forgive me for not knowing this. Is that each principal or people in the administration, they have a negotiation for their contract? That's how it's worked? And who does that negotiating with them?
There are 3 contract groups within RSU 14, support staff, the teachers, and the school administrators. All have their own individual union/bargaining group, and they bargain together.
So the union's involved, okay. Do you know what the percentages of the increase of those salaries?
Off the top of my head, for this year for the principals, it's either 1.5% or 2%.
Okay, all right, and that's spread out by how many people in the administration, do you know?
Got a lot off the top of my head tonight.
Sorry.
This is not just salaries that are included here. I think there's 13 individuals that would fall within that administrative contract.
Okay. Okay, 13 people, okay. All right, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you. Ma'am?
I move to close debate.
Motion to close debate. Is there a second? All in favor, raise your pink cards. All opposed, raise your pink cards. Debate is closed. We now move to a vote on Article 7, School Administration. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 7 carries. Article 8, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for transportation and buses. School Board recommends $3,496,326.47. Is there a motion on Article 8?
I move the article as written.
Second.
It's on the floor. Any discussion? Article 8, transportation and buses.
Dr. Robin Frost, I'm from Wyndham. Mr. Howell, I apologize, I don't know this either, but what percentage increase is this for the transportation buses? Do you know approximately? Is this an increase here in this line? Are we seeing?
Yes, there's an increase within transportation. Would take me a few minutes to figure out what the overall increase would be.
Okay.
This includes increases to motor fuels and then negotiated salaries.
And is that due to the increase in fuel prices, et cetera? Is that what this is based on?
There is an increase in here for fuel prices. Thank you to the town of Wyndham for negotiating their fuel prices early, because our diesel prices are about half of what market rate is right now.
Because you locked in?
Yes.
Okay. So, and there were a lot of funding that was used through the COVID funding for transportation buses. Is that correct? But you're not allowed to use that funding toward fuel costs for that, just replacement of buses? So just replacement of actual tangible items?
Well, this line includes all the bus driver salaries, all the van driver salaries. And just as a point of interest, I think, for everybody, we drive the equivalent, I say we, I haven't driven today, but the equivalent from here to Dallas, Texas every day between our vans and our buses. We drive a little over 600,000 miles a year overall within the fleet. So we've got a lot of things that are moving. I think we have 24 buses on the road at any given time and roughly 24 vans that are moving students. So it would be all the salaries, all the upkeep, all the costs, plus running a service center down there to make sure all those buses are safe and repaired and doing everything they need to do.
Aren't the majority of those buses new due to COVID funding, so the maintenance reduces, or not all?
Still need to do oil changes, still need to do brakes, still need to take care of all those different maintenance items. I think over the last couple of years, we've purchased 8 buses, and that's been a combination of a couple through COVID, a couple through regular budget. In addition, we received a Volkswagen settlement for the diesel issue that was going on. I think there's 2 buses in this budget. In addition, with buses, is that many also receive a subsidy in the future, but there is an additional cost for them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, I'm Rebecca Cole. I teach first grade at Wyndham Primary School and was a resident of Wyndham. I'm also a member of the NEA Board of Directors. I have a point of information or clarification.
Go ahead.
Thank you. It's my understanding that the information in this presentation and reflected in the articles being presented for a vote here tonight have already been made public, either through cost center presentations or on other avenues such as the district website. Am I incorrect in that?
Everything you see tonight, yes, it's already posted on the website or has been done in a budget presentation.
Thank you. So there's nothing new being addressed here this evening that has not already been made available to the public?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on Articles 8, Transportation and Buses? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, raise your pink cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your pink cards. Thank you. Article 8 carries. Article 9 is Facilities Maintenance. To see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for facilities maintenance. School Board recommends $6,735,617.80. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
And a
I second.
Okay. It's on the floor. Facilities Maintenance. Any discussion, debate?
Good evening, my name is Ken Anderson, I live in Wyndham. Just wondering if anybody could explain to me the itemized needs for maintenance, like what you might typically run into for maintenance cost. Are they painting, wallpaper? Do you resurface the brick? Is it new roofing? Like, what is it?
Sure. So we have things like electricity, in which we need
That's
to.
utility.
Yep, which we need
Everybody
to, as far
needs
as
that.
maintenance, upkeep.
hold on,
Do you
hold on.
maintain the electric grid?
If I could ask both the questioner and the respondent to be silent for a moment. So let's not have a debate back and forth between yourselves. I'll give the
It's
superintendent,
democracy.
excuse me, sir, I'll give the superintendent a moment to answer the question. I think we get the point of the question. And then if you have something to say, then you'll have an opportunity to say it.
Are you squelching my democratic right to speak with another human being in the midst of this
Okay, sir, you're out of order
assembly?
now.
I'm asking you a question. I'm
You're
allowed
out
to.
of order.
I'm out of order because I'm
You're out of
speaking
order.
against something?
The meeting voted for the rules
You're
of the
out of
meeting.
order.
And you're out of order, so
You
I'm
have
going to
no
ask you
power.
to sit down.
I'm a citizen.
Exactly. Sit down, please.
Oh, so I'm a second-class citizen now?
Sit down, please.
I'm asking simply a question about maintenance. I know electricity exists. We all
Trying to
have
answer it. We allowed the question, and it's his turn to answer the question
Instead of
now.
trying, train better. Go ahead, Chris.
Go ahead, Chris.
I apologize for misunderstanding that. I thought you were talking about maintenance upkeep, so.
Me too, thank you.
Anytime you introduce 3,200 students to school buildings over 180 days, things get broken. So it's things like replacing desk chairs, occasional broken window, fixing doors, making sure that playground equipment is up and working correctly. It is paint, it's replacing carpets, it's a maintenance schedule of replacing electrical boxes. It's making sure that every single thing that breaks in the several $100,000 worth, or 700,000 square feet of property that we have is making sure it gets taken care of.
Is there
Thank
any
you.
way to reduce those maintenance costs in the future?
Actually, for what we should be spending per square foot is far less than where we're at.
But is there any way to reduce the maintenance costs in the future? So we don't have to have a budget increase on it, like,
The best way to
Has
make
that been looked
preventive
into?
maintenance.
okay. So is there a lot of paint that's needed, and like, is there proof? Can you guys
Sir.
show proof of the maintenance that you do?
Sir, I think the question is asked and answered.
I'm just
gonna
asking
go
for
ahead-
proof
I'm going to go ahead
of
and
money they're
entertain a
asking for.
motion. If someone would like to make a motion to move the previous
I'm asking
question.
for proof of the money they typically spend on maintenance.
Is there a second?
Do you have proof of it?
Okay, we've moved the previous question. All in favor of Article 9, Facilities Maintenance, raise your cards. Any opposed? Please raise your cards. Article 9 carries. Again, I'll say what I said at the beginning. The meeting decides how long this meeting is to be, so if you wish to move the previous question, you're within your rights to do so. Article 10, to see what sum the regional school unit would be authorized to expend for debt service and other commitments. School Board recommends $1,809,625. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's on the floor. Any discussion?
Good evening, Ken Clark. Respectfully, every resident in this town, which I'm sure you know, has car expenses, vehicle expenses, maintenance expenses. We endure insurance expenses. Health insurance we have to come out of our pocket for is about $2,000 a month for a lot of people. So we're all on the same page. And I just think it needs to be understood more when folks ask for money, it's coming from us. And again, there's COVID money left over, okay? I'm getting to this. You have interest that you're paying. Can that COVID money be used to pay off a loan so you're not paying interest? I just don't understand why if there's $2.3 million left over, you're asking us for more money. If I had money, I wouldn't ask for somebody else. You guys have it. I don't understand why it can be allocated instead of asking the taxpayers for more increase. This is the most trying times we've had in years. A lot of people go without health insurance, never mind have it, from the time they retire to the time they get Medicare. That's offset. Can the
Chris,
COVID money
sir,
be allocated?
we're going to get your question answered. Can the COVID money be spent on debt service payments?
It's actually,
Is the
it's
question.
illegal.
Yes, or anything else. for
Sir,
that
let
matter.
him answer,
It's
please.
illegal to actually do it.
Okay.
Because you're supplanting something that's already been approved by the voters. What you see here for principals and interest, one of that is the high school payment that was approved by the voters in Wyndham in 2003 and is part of the cost-sharing formula. The other one is the revolving renovation payment, which was approved by the taxpayers at the polls back in 2019, 2020, in both Wyndham and Raymond.
Sir, before I recognize you again, is there anyone else who would like to say something or make a motion? Previous question is moved. Is there a second? Okay, we're now going to vote on whether to cut off debate. All in favor, raise your cards. Any opposed, please raise your cards. Okay, we'll now vote on the article as written, debt service and other commitments. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, please raise your cards. Thank you. Article 10 carries. We're now on Article 11. To see what sum the regional school unit would be authorized to expend for all other expenditures, School Board recommends $380,000. Is there a motion to put it on the floor?
I move the article as written.
And a second?
I'll second.
Okay. At this point, the articles seem to be passing. Is there a motion, or does someone want to say something? Okay, let's move to a vote. All in favor, raise your pink cards. All opposed, please raise your cards. Article 11 carries. That's the expenditure side of the budget. Article 12 involves your state subsidy and the required local contribution. If you have the Article 12 in front of you, you'll see the cost-sharing formula amounts on the left-hand column, the required local contribution of each town, and the totals on the right. The state subsidy is the difference between the two, and the form of this question is determined by statute. I'm going to read the question and the totals. The article, excuse me, and the totals. To see what sum the regional school unit will appropriate for the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, and to see what sum the regional school unit will raise and assess as each municipality's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act in accordance with the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20A, Section 15688. The total appropriation is $40,761,833.82. On the right-hand column is the required contribution of each town, the total of which is $23,312,687.47. Is there a motion to put it on the floor?
I move the article as written.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Going to proceed to a vote. All in favor, please raise your cards. Any opposed, please raise your cards. Thank you. Article 12 carries. Article 13, this raises money for debt service previously approved by the voters. Local debt service. To see what sum the regional school unit will raise and appropriate for the annual payments on debt service previously approved by the regional school unit voters for non-state funded school construction projects or non-state funded portions of school construction projects in addition to the funds appropriated as the local share of the regional school unit's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12. School Board recommends $397,750. Is there a motion to put it on the floor?
I move the article as written.
And a second? Okay. It's on the floor. Any discussion? Okay, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. Any opposed, raise your cards. Article 13 carries. Article 14, this one will require written ballot, so I'll explain the procedure when we get there. To see what sum the regional school unit will raise and appropriate in additional local funds, recommend $11,676,373.81, which exceeds the state's essential programs and services allocation model by recommended $11,576,373.81 as required to fund the budget recommended by the school board. The school board recommends $11,676,373.81. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's on the floor. Any discussion? Okay, you each have a yes/no ballot. Have the clerks brought the ballot box into the room? Where's the ballot box? I'm sorry. Over on that side. Are there extra pencils or pens? Okay, so you should have been given one as you came in. If you're like me, you might have lost it. I'll lend you mine if you need it. So if you would mark your ballots and proceed to the ballot box and cast your ballot.
Hey, you're doing great.
Obviously, next time, way back. Nice try. Hang it in there. We actually had a lot of changes last time, I'll tell you. I can't wait. I can't wait. Good luck.
So, is anyone still needing to cast their ballot? Raise your hand. See one person. Anyone else? Okay. I don't see anyone else who needs to vote, so I'm going to close the ballots and ask the clerks to count for us. If we could come to order, the result of the voting on Article 14 is 64 yes, 9 no, so Article 14 carries. Article 15 is the summary of what the meeting has just done. I'll read the article. To see what sum the regional school unit will authorize the school board to expend, for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2023, from the regional school unit's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, non-state funded school construction projects, additional local funds for school purposes under the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 28, Section 15690, unexpended balances, tuition receipts, state subsidy, and other receipts for the support of schools. School Board recommends $54,497,963.77. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
Is there a second?
I second.
It's on the floor. Any discussion? We will proceed to a vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. Any opposed? Raise your cards. Article 15 carries. Thank you. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 more articles. Article 16 authorizes transfers among cost centers. I'll read the article. Article 16, shall the school board be authorized to transfer amounts exceeding 5% of the total appropriation for any cost center to another cost center or among other cost centers for the 2022-2023 fiscal year, provided that transfers shall not be permitted to increase the authorized total school budget. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
Second.
It's on the floor. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, please raise your cards. Thank you. Article 16 carries. Article 17, grants and other receipts. In addition to the amounts approved in the preceding articles, shall the school board be authorized to expend such other sums as may be received from federal or state grants or programs or other sources during the fiscal year for school and other program purposes, provided that such grants, programs, or other sources do not require the expenditure of other funds not previously appropriated. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
Second.
It's on the floor. Any discussion? We will vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. Any opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 17 carries. Article 18 is the Adult Education Program. Article 18. This was the second number 17 on the posted warrant, but is actually Article 18 and what you have in front of you. To see if the regional school unit will appropriate $652,664.28 for adult education and raise $303,939.11 as the local share, with authorization to expend any additional incidental or miscellaneous receipts in the interest and for the well-being of the adult education program. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
Second.
It's on the floor. Any discussion? Let's move to a vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, please raise your cards. Thank you. Article 18 carries, adult education. Last article is corrected to be Article 19, authorizes a transfer to an expenditure from the Capital Reserve Fund. I'll read the article. Shall the school board be authorized to transfer up to $100,000 from unexpended balances to the School Capital Reserve Fund and to expend $1,936,000 from the reserve fund for the following purposes in addition to amounts the voters have previously authorized to be expended from the School Capital Reserve Fund for these and other projects. And the dollar amounts and the different categories of expenditure are shown in a table there. The total is $1,936,000. The dollar amounts are estimates, as you can see. I'm not going to read them all. It's quite a large number of things. Okay, so is there a motion on this article?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Any discussion?
Permission to speak?
Yes.
I just want to bring out for everyone the $1.2 million that's listed there for new middle school. Those are funds that the district needs to put up front in design costs and concept costs. Those funds will be reimbursed to the district at the time of referendum when the school goes to construction. But those are funds that we need to put up front in order to be able to access funds in the future.
Yes, sir.
On Article 19, I guess it is, correct? Len West from Wyndham. I'm just curious, looking through your list there, why that doesn't fall, most of the stuff seems to fall under facilities and maintenance. So it seems like we're duplicating those costs here.
These are specific projects that are outside of normal routine maintenance that would be happening within the schools. So for example, the drinking water system upgrade, there's some needed well upgrades to the Raymond Elementary water supply.
I'm looking at pavement improvements, network infrastructure, equipment for food service, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, didn't that come under facilities and maintenance?
These tend to be single projects that are in addition to just routine maintenance that would happen within a particular building. Fire alarm upgrade, redoing the entire fire alarm system instead of just doing a simple repair where a horn or strobe doesn't work.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Any further discussion? We'll move to a vote. All in favor, raise your pink cards. Thank you. Any opposed? Please raise your pink cards. Thank you. Article 19 carries. Chris, the budget validation referendum is going to be June 14th, is that correct? So starting tomorrow, absentee ballots should be available, and that's for ratifying what this meeting did, voting in your towns on June 14, a single question, single ballot question, do you ratify what this meeting did? So just to let you know, that's on June 14, however you wish to vote on that. That concludes the business of this meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second? All in favor? That's enough for me. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.